I sold my husband's secret for $10 million. The sentence sits on my tongue like a coin I can't swallow. Copper, metallic. Every sip of water just turns the taste into a brighter, blunter thing. Some truths don't rinse off. They stain the mouth that says them. The night it breaks, his name lit like warning flares across every channel, the markets twitching to the rhythm of it, I'm in a hotel room that smells like lemon and old smoke. The curtains won't close all the way. The thin blade of city light cuts through the dark and points at the glass table where my wedding ring rests by itself, a cold star that fell. My phone vibrates until it gives up. I do not plug it in. I loved him. That is the inconvenient spine of everything. Before he was headlines and hearings, before boards and indices became a second pulse in our house, he was a man at the edge of a gala. The one spot where I had gone to breathe. The ballroom throbbed with music and charitable self-congratulation. I leaned against a column and counted exit signs. "You look like you're plotting an escape," he said, appearing as if the world had opened a door for him and been pleased to do it. Tall, almost playful in a midnight suit that took the edge off the severity of his mouth. "I am," I said. "All good escapes are rehearsed." He laughed. A dimple surfaced under his right eye like a small, unguarded truth. I did not know then how much I would come to watch for it. "Alex," he said, "try not to detonate anything until dessert." He wasn't a billionaire yet, not on paper. He was the sharpened possibility of one. Everyone in that room knew it. I didn't. I was a second-grade teacher turned art therapist who had learned how to ask for a new kiln without letting her voice tremble. My dress was borrowed. My shoes were from a discount store that smelled faintly of rubber and hope. He kissed me in the back of a taxi 3 months later, with the shamelessness of someone who believes he can pull the shape of his life out of air and muscle. He sent a piano to my apartment after I mentioned, once in an elevator, that I used to like to play. He didn't drown me in gifts, not at first. He let me keep my work, my small mornings, the parts of me that made me feel less like an accessory. On volunteer days, he pressed clay beside a boy named Diego and let the boy correct the angle of his thumb. "Sometimes you look at me like I'm a person, and sometimes like I'm a story," I told him one rain-limned Sunday when the kitchen light was so soft the whole room felt like a photograph that might smudge. He smiled over his coffee and asked, "Aren't they the same?" I said yes. It felt like love to say it. They called me a gold digger in comment fields and whispered it through their teeth at brunch. He let them. We knew what my bank account looked like, the steadiness of his hand at the small of my back, the dog-eared softness of us, his heartbeat under my ear. When he asked me to marry him, it was in the shell of a building his company was restoring. The air was sawdust and promise. He slid a ring onto my finger and said, "Stay," like it cost him to ask. Our life glossed over. Magazine profiles wanted our kitchen and our dog. My dresses started costing more than the art program's yearly supply list. We lived inside panes of glass that changed temperature with the sun. He worked until the hours lost their names. He sent me window sunset photos from planes and smiled next to people who made editors salivate. At home, he ate cereal over the sink and put his head in my lap and made a sound of gratitude that shook my questions quiet. There were hints. He had a voice he used while shaving, a boardroom register that found the seam where charm turns into blade. He kept a closet in his study with a fingerprint lock. He didn't lie about it, he simply didn't name it. The dogs learned to nap on the rug in there as if even secrecy made space for softness. "Is it exhausting?" I asked him once, "being you?" He looked startled, then pleased by the accuracy of the question. "Sometimes," he said, and picked up my hand, "but not when I can come home and be yours." I liked first-class seats. I liked how my name opened certain doors. I liked the check for the kiln that didn't come with a press release. I loved his mind, how he could braid disparate facts into a rope and drag an outcome toward him. I did not love the notifications. A fire in a textile plant in Bangladesh, a supplier. Rumors of an inspection moved like furniture on paper the same week his fund positioned itself to benefit from the burn. In the dark, I asked him, "Did you know about Garaya?" 22 women died there. Their names spilled onto page 5, as if the front page was only for men who used verbs like disrupt. He found my hand under the covers and said, "I didn't know the roof was that bad," and squeezed. I fell asleep on the sentence like a splinter and woke with my cheek salty. We made pancakes in the morning. He flipped them badly. We pretended we were ordinary. The day I first held the secret that would burn the bottom out of our life, I was wearing white shorts I regretted the minute I left the house. Tuesday. The Fed had said something in a tone that made the world adjust its belt. A messenger shifted on our porch like a boy trying to hold his body smaller. He handed me a padded envelope, eyes avoiding mine. Inside, a velvet ring box with a thumb drive in it, a note folded like a dare. "If you love him, burn this. If you love the truth, open it." Melodrama. Still, my hand shook. I took it to the study and locked the door. The dog scratched once and then, with canine decency, left me to it. The files were clinical, their edges scrubbed, naming, dating, subject lines with a mechanical cruelty, R.E. Graywell audit, R.E. stress test results, R.E. timing, attachments like continents of cells, spreadsheets in green and red, photographs of a construction skeleton, ribs pitched against wash blue sky, notes from a safety inspector whose name I said aloud once in the empty room, and then said again because it deserved not to be alone. Maya Lay. 3 memos had been polished by lawyers until they shivered, carving culpability into something that could be passed around a table. Graywell Tower was a future anxious city's anthem, and Alex's company wasn't just in for a percentage, it was spine and nerve. An investor called Transcript caught a voice I knew by its engineered ease. "Delay the press release, our position will be adjusted accordingly." An email from Maya, precise and furious, flagged metal fatigue after someone changed the composite spec to save costs under an internal codename, Project Raincoat. A reply from one of Alex's lieutenants, "Address after occupancy. Warranty will cover surface." They saved $32 million on metal. They made $112 on the derivatives when Graywell folded in on itself 20 months later and the stock fell like a body. I watched the coverage of Graywell from our couch. Dust climbed the screen in a pale grief. They said ground settlement. They said unforeseen. An hour later, Alex appeared in a blue shirt that made his eyes look like an exit, walking with a mare through a city of tape. He squeezed a mother's hand. He said, "We will rebuild," and looked like he meant it. I looked at the math. I didn't open the audio right away. I stood up and tore at my t-shirt neckline as if more air could undo what I knew. I sat on the floor of our bedroom and put my forehead against the bed frame and thought of Diego, of the way he learned to make a wobbling bowl hold still. At sunset, the house gathered light and held it in its glass palms. I drank water I didn't want. I opened the file with his name. A boardroom, sleeves and watches. He wasn't the only one whose voice skated over the risk like it was a puddle on the way to a better room. But when his voice said, "Elegant as a scalpel, let's move, we'll handle it," my body learned a new meaning of cold. I don't remember removing the drive. I remember standing at the sink and turning the water to the coldest it could scream. And letting it run until the pipes trembled. I sat on the tile and thought of the 27 names not printed above the fold, because they had been clerks and custodians and a cook who laughed loud enough that his coworker remembered to mention it. 6 days. That's what it took to become the woman in this sentence. A lifetime collapsed into an argument between my palms. I looked up Maya. 2 paragraphs. I went to Graywell. Cap, sunglasses, a fence, replaced. New glass rewrote the sky and apology. A small plaque with names. Paper flowers browned at the edges. A boy traced the first letter of a name with a fingertip. His mother folded her arms like she was holding her body together from the outside in. Back home, I called a number. A journalist had slipped to me months ago with the easy misdemeanor of someone accustomed to asking for a future favor. "In case there's ever anything you want to tell me not on the record," he'd said. We met in a hotel that specialized in names not taken. He put his phone in the freezer like a party trick, and then didn't smile. He explained words that made my mouth dry: libel, principal, indemnify, and then put them away and asked if I was okay. That, somehow, hurt the worst. "I don't want your sympathy," I said. "I don't," he said quietly. "I want your certainty." I gave him the drive. He offered a contract, $10 million wired to a foundation. Publish without naming me until I'm safe. Then I could decide what my name should buy. "Why 10? I asked. "Because it's enough to leave," he said, "and because it isn't his." I didn't sign there. I took the papers to another anonymous room and slept with them under my pillow like a medieval charm. Alex texted a photo of the dog's nose over paw on our couch. "You always leave and take the best things," he wrote. A minute later, "You okay?" Then, "Up 9 today. We're unstoppable." As if weather moved on its own. As if he hadn't learned how to move clouds. I signed the next morning, with the name that fit in my mouth before his. The wire landed in a foundation I'd set up a week earlier under my own name, like I had rehearsed the escape in case I needed to run when the bridge began to sway. They published. He called 30 minutes later. I let the first call die. I answered the second. For a small moment, neither of us said anything. Inside the silence, I could almost believe we were in our kitchen, and the kettle would click off and one of us would laugh. "Tell me it's not you," he said. Not his boardroom voice. The other one. The kitchen voice he used when he asked if we needed milk. It undid something in me. It always had. "If I say no," I said, "I'd have to lie about everything else too." His exhales sounded like stepping into cold water. "You know what you've done." "I know what you've done," I said. Behind him, the dogs barked at the TV, eating the world. "You could have asked me for anything," he said, the controls sliding back into place, closing him from the inside. "You don't understand this world." "What part?" I asked. "Gravity? The part where people die? Or the part where we drink wine in a glass box and call it merit?" He found me. Of course he did. He had always been able to cross distances that other people were forced to live inside. The lock clicked. He stood in the doorway and looked like a boy wearing a man's suit. He closed the door very gently, which made me want to break something unbreakable. "Why 10?" he asked first, because numbers are a language he trusts. "You could have asked for more. They would have paid. I didn't want your voice in it. I wanted money that wasn't yours." Pain moved under his skin like a thing with its own lungs. He put his hands on the table, on either side of the ring. He said, "You ruined me." "I opened a window," I said. "You are the one who built the house out of glass." He sagged into the chair. He went through fury and calculation and landed on grief. He put his head down on his folded arms, a boy in a class I used to teach. I stood. I almost went to him. I did go to him. I touched the back of his neck. His hair wasn't as stiff as it looked. He turned his head and kissed my wrist without thinking, and I swayed toward him and then away, as if there was a magnet in me and a wire in him, and I had finally learned how to cut the current. "We don't have to be enemies," he said, voice small and sincere and infuriating. "We can fix it. Say it isn't true." "It is true," I said. "That's the terrible grace of it." He stayed until the sky lifted its pale hands to the window. We didn't talk about lawyers or what he could do to make me smaller. He touched the ring with his fingertip. He didn't take it. He left. At home, the dogs didn't understand the news. The weeks after were a hallway without windows. My phone became a machine for absorbing other people's certainty. Strangers wrote hatred as if it were prayer. Others wrote thank you and deleted their names. The fund sagged. The government stapled names to files. Board members forgot how to call. On TV, he looked smaller, not in height, but in density, as if a planet had been removed from his orbit and everything else hadn't learned what to do without its pull. The money sat bright and sterile. I moved it. I split it into scholarships spelled with the names on the plaque. We hired lawyers for Maya's family. I walked into the center where I used to work with a check and no strings, and then cried over a sink and washed my face, and came back out to look at bowls that no longer wobbled. Some asked if I did it for money. Others asked if I did it for the thrill of setting the room in fire. News cycles ate and asked for more. I learned how to sit in a chair that made me look small while saying, "I did it because pressure ferments in secrets until lids blow. I did it because I was done sleeping on a volcano." For a while, I carried my ring in my pocket. It made a soft bruise on the fabric. One morning, the ocean wore its flat, thinking face. I held the ring up and let the sun pour through it, a bright reminder of geometry and promises. "Do you remember?" I asked the air, "when we didn't know?" I set it in the wet sand and walked until the tide claimed it with slow, deliberate hands. When the water turned the surface to coins, I stood there like someone poor in the exact currency she needed. He wrote later, paper, because lawyers have opinions about keystrokes. He was sorry and not sorry, and honest about not knowing how to shape the sentence so it didn't break on arrival. He said he still counted heartbeats in the morning. He said he could redraw our kitchen blind, that the counter by the kettle was chipped because I dropped a plate after he told me his mother was sick, and we stood and looked at the shard because sometimes you need proof that things break. I tucked the letter under a plant, a private vault of dirt and root. I wrote back. I don't know if he read it. I said people aren't variables. I said I loved him, and love would not be my sworn ally to his alibis. I said he taught me something useful. Certainty is expensive. Sometimes the honest thing is to admit you don't have it and do the right thing anyway. This story doesn't have a hem, it frays. People retell it in rooms that need the shape of me to justify the shape of them. Some call me traitor, some call me savior. Both leave fingerprints I have to wipe off my day. The truth is more boring and more costly. I wake up, I make coffee, I feed the dogs. I sit with kids who have clay under their nails and watch their hands learn steadiness. I keep a bank account I touch as little as possible because money feels like a hot pan I once grabbed barehanded. I take meetings with women who press my fingers hard enough to hurt and say, "I see you," without saying it out loud. Sometimes I climb a chair and take the velvet box down from a high shelf. It is empty. I kept it anyway. The hinge makes a small sound when it closes, like a mouth deciding not to speak. I put it back. I stand in the kitchen with its chipped corner and listen for the kettle's final click. The room is quiet enough for me to hear my own voice. I repeat it until the copper taste dulls, and I can drink water without choking. I sold his secret for $10 million because truth has a price and silence has a cost. And I will not live a life whose ledger only balances in someone else's favor.